The other night I decided out of sheer curiosity to try nutmeg. I looked it up in a physician's guide to alternative and homeopathic medicines, and saw that they say it can kill you. Must take a heck of a lot. My friend and I ate a meal on the principle that the nutmeg and the meal would be digested together. Just after we finished aying, we both ate a heaping tablespoon and a heaping teaspoon. We intentionally ate smaller amounts than many people said they did to avoid any sort of particularly unpleasant hangover, and because I have found that many substances I ingest a large volume of have more unpleasant side effects. In any case, we wrote papers and waited for it to kick in and/or for another friend to show up. By the time he showed up there wasn't much left to write, and we weren't sure what we felt, tired, or left over stoned or placebo or the enigma of nutmeg. About a half an hour later, after my other friend ate some nutmeg, too, I was sure it was the spice. The three of us smoked a bowl and a half, relatively minute amount for us, and found ourselves surprisingly messed up. The friend who had eaten it the most recently, who is a relative beginner, said he saw lights and colors and slightly complex patterns. As for myself, I experienced a tired feeling accompanied by the sort of feeling you have 2 or 3 hours after a big smokeout, bluzzy. The contrast on my vision was rather more pronounced, and later on things were somewhat blurry. Right after we smoked, I felt that I was inside a sort of shell that was my body, like a thin shell with feeling. I also felt, detached to the inside, kind of hard to explain. I was very much in my own head and perceptions of the shell of my body as opposed to what I heard or saw, in particular. The entire time my other two friends had the giggles. We ate the nutmeg around 6:45, and by the end of it, 2 to 3 a.m., I thought my coordination was a little messed, I was a little tottery or something. The friend I ate it with, who was strangely noncommunicative about it at the time, said the next day that he, too, felt slightly drunk at that time. The next day I had classes, but I felt fine. A little tired, perhaps, and my thoughts flowed well. I awoke around 6:30 a.m. and drank 3 cups of coffee with lots of sugar, yum, and smoked on my way to school. There I found myself particularly lucid, instigating what I considered interesting discussion in my classes, but I fell asleep later that day around 3:30 to 5 p.m. The next day the feeling was gone as far as I could tell. Neither of my friends thought they felt anything the morning after we did it, but I fell asleep later and woke up earlier, and had more coffee and weed, all factors that contributed to my buzz in the morning. I think I might have had a Saranac black and tan that morning, too. It probably wouldn't have mattered anyhow. In any case, we all thought that it gave the weed a refreshing, new aspect that night, and we managed to get off with our stashes nearly unscathed. I recommend it in moderation.